The fire at the heart of the mountain. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom called the Kingdom of the Sun, surrounded by lush valleys at the foot of towering mountains. This kingdom, named after the sun, was famous for its golden fields shining under the sunlight, its majestic mountains stretching into the deep blue sky, and the unique songs of the birds that woke up with the sunrise every morning. The people of this kingdom lived happy, cheerful, and peaceful lives. However, one morning, the kingdom woke up to a silence unlike any it had known before. The sunlight seemed to be hiding behind the clouds. The wind no longer sang a soft melody. Instead, it whispered sharply and coldly. Freezing winds from the mountaintops quickly began to cover every corner with a white blanket. The winter that began that day lasted for days, then weeks. The snow covered the valleys and fields in white. Fruits froze on the trees, and the grass disappeared under the snow. The birds' songs were no longer heard, and the rivers had frozen over. The number of homes with warm stoves was decreasing, and there was no longer enough warm clothing for the babies. The elderly were struggling with illnesses carried by the cold winds. The people, unable to tend to their fields or herd their animals, awaited a solution from their king to face the growing threat of famine and cold. King Arden was a strong and wise leader, his heart filled with love for his kingdom. As he gazed out the stone window of the palace at the white blanket covering the land, he could feel the pain of his people in his heart. Beside him stood his brave knight, Rowan, always his right hand and loyal friend. That morning, with a strong voice echoing through the palace, King Arden turned to Sir Rowan. "Rowan, this cold shall not conquer our kingdom. Old legends say that the eternal fire at the heart of the great mountain can warm the kingdom. We must find this fire." Sir Rowan nodded with determination in his eyes. "I am with you, Your Majesty. No matter how strong this cold is, we shall face it together." Rowan, when he was just a child, had once travelled many miles in a stormy winter night to gather wood and protect his family from the cold. Now, he was setting out for the kingdom, armed with the courage he had learned that night. Thus, King Arden and Sir Rowan set off on a perilous journey to find the eternal fire. Before them lay cold mountains, fog-covered forests, and uncertain paths, an adventure that would test both their courage and their friendship. As they travelled through villages blanketed with snow, they pressed on. Upon reaching the mountain slopes, they felt the cold winds slap their faces. But King Arden's love for his people urged them forward. Soon, they came across a large river. The current flowed quickly, and crossing seemed impossible. King Arden thought for a moment. "We must find a way to cross this river." Sir Rowan immediately suggested, "Your Majesty, I can tie this rope around my waist and try to cross the river. If I succeed, you can follow me safely using the rope." King Arden answered with concern, "But this is too dangerous. Your safety is the most important thing." Sir Rowan smiled and replied, "You are risking everything to protect your people. I will risk everything to be by your side. Besides, you will have one end of the rope, so if I run into trouble, you can help me." With that, Sir Rowan tied the rope around his waist, bravely leaped into the water, and began swimming against the current. Despite the strength of the current, he managed to move forward with every stroke. After a while, he reached the shore and tied the rope to a large rock. With Sir Rowan's help, King Arden crossed safely. They lit a small fire by the river's edge to warm up, dried their clothes, and rested before continuing on their journey. As they travelled further, they entered a dark forest. The trees were so thick that little light reached the ground. Howls and faint footsteps echoed from the forest, like a shadow following them with every step. King Arden gathered his courage to ignore the eerie sounds. King Arden turned to Sir Rowan and said, "The sounds of the creatures here echo strangely." Sir Rowan responded courageously, "Yes, Your Majesty, but if we stay together, we can overcome any challenge." With every step, the trees grew denser, and the darkness deepened. Sir Rowan gathered thick branches, dry leaves from the tree hollows, and moss, making 2 torches. Lighting them, they illuminated their path and continued forward fearlessly, undeterred by the strange noises. Finally, they made it through the forest and emerged into a bright clearing. After a long walk, they reached a massive tree glowing with golden leaves, its branches casting beams of light down to the ground. At the base of the tree sat an old sage with a long white beard, leaning on his staff. King Arden approached the sage and bowed respectfully. "Old sage, we are searching for the eternal fire at the heart of the mountain. Our kingdom needs your wisdom to escape this cold." The old sage slowly raised his head and smiled as he replied, "I had foreseen this terrible cold, Your Majesty. The paths to the eternal fire open only to those with hearts full of courage and love. The challenges you face as you enter the mountain will be overcome not only with courage but with the trust you place in each other." Sir Rowan asked eagerly, "What awaits us on this path, old sage?" The old sage touched the trunk of the tree with his staff, and a map appeared on the tree's surface. The mountain's paths, caves, and obstacles to be overcome flickered on the map like glowing lights. "The mountain will test you. Icy storms, lost paths, and dark caves. But remember, the true fire is the love in your hearts. If you walk together, you will overcome everything." King Arden and Sir Rowan thanked the old sage and continued on their way. The wisdom tree seemed to wave them off with a gentle breeze and the golden leaves rustling in the wind. After a challenging journey, they finally reached the cave at the heart of the mountain. Inside the cave, a red-orange glow illuminated the depths. As their eyes adjusted to the light, they began to move forward. As they ventured deeper into the cave, the sound of their footsteps grew louder, as if the very heart of the cave could feel their presence. Suddenly, a massive chamber opened up before them. In the center of the room, the eternal fire rose from the depths of the earth. The flames danced like a performer, their blue, gold, and orange colors intertwining harmoniously, casting reflections on the stone walls. Crystalline stones in the ceiling sparkled, scattering the light like 1,000 tiny stars. The heat of the fire melted the cold of the room instantly, and a long-forgotten sense of hope stirred in their hearts. King Arden turned to Sir Rowan, awe in his eyes. "This is indescribable beauty." Sir Rowan nodded, whispering as he watched the swirling flames. "This place, it feels like the heart of another world." The warmth not only heated their bodies but also soothed their souls. Beside the fire, ancient inscriptions were carved into stone pedestals. It seemed as if the moment had been recorded thousands of years ago, with an image of a hero touching the fire. As they stepped closer to the fire, a gigantic creature entered through a massive door at the far end of the room. It positioned itself between them and the eternal fire, staring at King Arden and Sir Rowan. Its eyes burned like embers, and its voice shook the cave. The creature stood tall and imposing before the magnificent fire, but even its size seemed dwarfed by the splendor of the eternal fire. The creature spoke. "I am the ancient guardian who swore to protect this mountain and the eternal fire. Those who wish to take the fire must prove the courage and love in their hearts." King Arden stepped forward boldly. "I am here for my people. I want to free them from this long-lasting cold. This fire is our hope." Sir Rowan stood firmly beside him, adding, "We would risk everything for them. As long as this fire brings light and warmth to our kingdom." The creature gazed at the duo for a long moment. Upon seeing the determination in their eyes, it took a step back, slowly bowing its head in respect. True courage is the willingness to risk oneself for the good of others. "I have seen you, King Arden and Sir Rowan. I have seen the righteousness in your hearts, and the fire of love you hold for your people. A piece of the eternal fire may go with you." Thus, King Arden and Sir Rowan returned to their kingdom with a piece of the eternal fire. When they placed the fire in the large stone hearth in the palace garden, the marble surface of the pedestal shimmered with light. This hearth, crafted centuries ago by ancient masters, seemed as if it had been made for the moment when it would warm the heart of the kingdom. Sun motifs were carved along the edges of its oval shape, dancing with the light of the flames, while the texture of the stone seemed to embrace the fire. As the eternal fire burned in this ancient hearth, a warm light spread, enveloping the entire kingdom. The snow began to melt, and the sun shone once more in the sky. Seeing the eternal fire burning and the end of the cold, the people gathered in the palace garden, rushing in excitement. Drums beat, children threw flowers, and everyone's eyes sparkled with joy. King Arden looked at the pedestal holding the eternal fire's warm light and called to his people. "This fire is not merely a flame rising from stone. It is the reflection of the love and courage in our hearts. The most important thing for us is to love and protect one another." The people cheered their heroes, embracing King Arden and Sir Rowan with love. Sir Rowan stood proudly beside King Arden, smiling at his people. His courage and loyalty became a legend told throughout the kingdom. Sir Rowan's name was forever remembered as the kingdom's bravest knight, and young knights were raised to follow in his footsteps. King Arden, as a ruler who reigned with justice and love, became deeply engraved in the hearts of his people. The people saw this fire not only as a symbol of salvation, but also as a token of their love and loyalty to their kings. Paintings telling their story were hung on the walls of homes, Songs were sung in the king's name, and the tale was passed down through generations. From that day on, winter never lasted long in the kingdom of the sun. The ancient cave at the mountain top still stands. Perhaps the eternal fire still waits there for someone. When the winds echo from the mountain's base, some may hear a whisper. The true fire is the love you carry in your heart. And who knows? Maybe one day another adventurer will set out to seek the secret of the eternal fire, journeying toward the heart of the great mountain. Then the sun will rise again, winds will whisper legends in the mountains, and the fire in hearts will never die. For love and courage create new heroes in every age.